A massive weekend for Arizona football and some really good things. Some commits start rolling in. Let's get started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for giving it a Locked On Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. This show is brought to you by LinkedIn. Check it out, LinkedIn, all kinds of good stuff. All right, now, Arizona football, a big weekend for Arizona football. They hosted a plethora of recruits, and they got a lot. They got some very, very nice additions to the roster, and we're going to break all of those ones down. But first, why don't we talk about a little bit about some of the players that are visiting and what exactly they do bring to the table. All right, the first one would be Wesley Yarbrough. There's a running back, top 50 running back in the entire country, depending on how you look, a top, 500-600 player in the entire class. This is somebody that Alonzo Carter had targeted from a from the very beginning, and he is good. Not only is he good, he is somebody that is going to, I think, continue to be very, very nice for Arizona. What you like about him a great deal is that he can absolutely, is that he very much fits into what you're trying to do if you're Alonzo Carter. Alonzo Carter wants to get guys who can be a little bit bigger. You can see he's already 5'10", 200 pounds, and at 5'10", 200 pounds, he fits into that mold. I think with Alonzo Carter, the one thing that we know is that he very much likes fam, our guy Rayshon Speedy Luke, but I think he also wants to be able to, like I said, I think he's got a vision for a running back. I think that he likes his running backs to be about 5 foot, 5'10" to 6 foot. And I think he wants him to be about 200, 215 pounds. He very much has a type. This fits very well into it. And I think with Zoe, you got to be able to give him a lot of credit for what he's been able to do. Listen, he kind of retooled the entire backfield. You lost Jonah Coleman, obviously, and you lost DJ Williams. You lost Michael Wiley, and you got back fam, Rayshon Speedy Luke, but that was about it from players that you looked at on the roster and you're like, they could be instant contributors. He had to be able to fill those ones back up, and he was able to do exactly that. He got Kedrick Riscano. He got Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, he got Quali Connolly, and now we got Wesley Yarbrough out of Texas. This is a very good thing as well. Texas, we very much like, and I think we're going to continue to see Arizona continue to recruit Texas and continue to get good players from there. We will, like I said, I think everybody will be very happy with that. But overall, though, a very, very nice commit for the University of Arizona. I also think, too, that this is something you've got to look at and say to yourself that this coaching staff, again, they get it. Now, is it, is this on everybody's timetable? No. And you get all the ASU putzes that are saying, you don't have commitments yet. You don't have all of this that we have. Well, guess what? Arizona is going to start getting some commitments, and we are going to talk about them throughout this show. But like I said, Wesley Yarbrough, a very nice addition to the University of Arizona, and a player that I think it's fair to say is I don't know that he'll compete for immediate playing time, because keep in mind, you're going into a place where you're already going to have fam, you're going to have Kedrick Riscano, but he's going to be right in there. And we know that one thing with this coaching staff is that they very, very much like being able to shift they very much like to be able to switch their running backs and be able to do a variety of different things. They can do that with Kedrick Riscano. This is with Wesley Yarbrough. Very, very impressed by this commitment. And again, something that you got to give a ton of credit to Zoe. Zoe is he took inventory of what he wanted, and he was able to get it. Now the running back room is filled. I don't really have any qualms whatsoever with how this running back room is played out with Alonzo Carter, and I would imagine that's going to continue I imagine that's how this is going to continue. So we will see that. But again, a very nice get for the University of Arizona. I'm also, like I said, I think it also goes to show you a lot of what Alonzo Carter can do. So now let's talk about another very, very nice, very nice addition to this or to a different spot, and that would be Sean Robinson. Now, you might say to yourself, Mike, who's Sean Robinson? Well, you know what? He is a very good football player. And I think he's out of Texas, obviously. He kind of fits in that build that they're looking for, where he's, again, in Texas. And what he can do is he's an athlete. I would imagine that they're going to probably put him at, receiver. He's about 6'3", 205 pounds. And he can get open. And players like this, you always want to get, because he can be a defensive back. He can be a wide receiver. He can be a lot of different things. They're going to, I think, start him out at wide receiver. But again, another kid out of Texas that this coaching staff prioritized, looked at pretty early and said that, yeah, that's the guy that we want. And I think they knew going into this visit that they were going to have a real chance to get him. And they were able to get it. Again, I think you're going to start seeing a lot more Texas players in here, and that's something that with Alonzo Carter, I think you're going to continue to see. Now, as far as an instant impact type, I think that he's got that possibility. Again, you look at him, he's a bigger dude, 6'3", 205, and he's also got very, very nice offers too. You look at some of the offers that he's got, and they're good. Arizona, Oklahoma State, Houston, Nebraska. These aren't the OKGs. Now, the thing that always worried me with OKGs was nobody else was really recruiting him outside of like Tulane and Southern Methodist and, places like that. That is different now. And this was a nice get. It also kind of shows me too that sometimes it's just okay. Just pump the brakes a little bit and everything will be okay. These are, again, two really good commits from the state of Texas. And I think too, the thing that we need to keep in mind here is that everybody's like, oh, well, ASU's got all these recruits, this and that. Dilly's also been there more than a year now. Brent Brennan's still getting his sea legs. And listen, it's very difficult in that first year, especially when you haven't even coached yet, to be able to show people what you have and to be able to show them that, hey, man, this is a good place that you could come play for. Brent Brennan and coaching staff have been able to do that. Again, I like these pickups. A great deal for the University of Arizona. And I think you're going to continue to see an emphasis on Texas. I think with going into the Big 12, it makes a lot of sense to continue to get Texas kids, because you're going to be playing. You're going to be playing against an Oklahoma State. You're going to be playing against a Texas Tech. You're going to be playing against a Houston. You can tell these kids, you can tell them that, hey, man, this is a good spot for you to come, because you're going to be able to watch. You're going to be able to play in front of your family. You're going to be able to play in front of the people that you care about, and you're going to be able to play for a good program as well. So that's something that Arizona has not really had in the past, and I think that that's something that moving forward you're going to see a lot more of, because, again, this is a very, very nice pickup for the U of A, both these dudes. And I'm excited, to be honest with you, because, listen, Texas under Mike Stoops had a lot of really, really good players. I mean, now not all of these guys were recruited by Mike Stoops, but you look at a Cindric Steptoe from Texas. You look at a Will Ray Fontenot from Texas. You look at a Ronnie Palmer from Texas. You look at a Trevin Wade from Texas. You look at and I can keep going back to the Tomey era. There's a lot of dudes from Texas that turn out to be pretty good, and I don't know why you wouldn't try to utilize that moving forward. I certainly think that that's going to be the case, but these are two very, very good commits for the University of Arizona. We're going to talk now about a couple other nice little players that Arizona has picked up. But first, LinkedIn, my friends, LinkedIn. Okay, now, here's the deal with LinkedIn. You know somebody that got a job through LinkedIn. I know somebody that got a job through LinkedIn. And that's because everybody knows somebody that got a job through LinkedIn, and because it works. That is the thing about it. You need to remember that this works. And whether you're hiring somebody, whether you're looking for a job, LinkedIn has you covered. Check it out. And again, post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedon. Another one of these ones where you will thank me later, ladies and gentlemen. You will thank me later because this is something that everybody uses. And generally, when it's something that everybody uses, you know that it's good. So again, check it out, linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now, let's talk about we are not done with U of A football commits. We are not done. Now, let's talk a little bit about Josh Tuchek. Now, you might say to yourself, Mike, who's Josh Tuchek? Well, thanks for asking. He's a guy out of California, cornerback, DB, and out of Long Beach, Milliken. He fits also in with what this Arizona staff wants to do. Bigger corner. He's about 6'1" and about 175. And he's got another guy that's got some pretty nice offers to his game. I mean, you look at it, and it's Arizona, Michigan State, Arizona State, California. Good player. He's got some promise to him, and Arizona's had a pretty good. Arizona's got a pretty good, let's just be honest here, a track record with kids from Long Beach of late. Maybe this would fit in as well. I think it also shows, too, that the recruiting template for both of these for Arizona is going to be California and Texas. That is going to be where it's at. And that makes all the sense in the world to try to get in on both of these places, especially, obviously, Southern California. Tuchek is going to be there's going to be opportunities for him to play. I mean, you look at this staff, or you look at this roster, and you're like, all right, well, there's a spot. There's a variety of different spots that are going to be open, and he's going to be right at the forefront of those, because keep in mind, Tacario Davis probably gone after next year. And then we've talked about it all season that you don't have a ton of great corners at this stage. So Arizona's got to be able to lock and load. Arizona's got to be able to get some more corners in there. And this is like I said, this is a nice pickup. This is somebody that the coaching staff has looked at, and they're like, all right, we want to be able to get him. We think that we can get him in here, and we'll see where it goes from there. But again, a nice little get. Again, I'm going to keep mentioning this again, Texas and California, both of these places, I think you're going to see a real emphasis on. You already look at some of the commitments that Arizona already has, whether it's Kern at tight end, whether it's McDaniel at quarterback, dudes from California, guys that, and Arizona, I think, is going to continue to be able to get those. And again, just kind of take your, just preaching patience here. That's all we're doing. We're just preaching patience. And the other one that you got is Caleb Jones. Now, not that Caleb Jones, the wide receiver from Texas, or where is he from originally? Oklahoma State, but he was from the state of Texas originally. Good player. But that is not who we're talking about. We are talking about a lineman from Phoenix, and another guy with an ASU offer, not super highly rated, but a big dude. And you kind of look at his body type, and probably going to need a redshirt year, but you get him in here, you get him with the strength staff. And I think it's easy to project him out as being a pretty good player moving forward. Like him a lot. I think there's a lot to like about his game. And I think also you're like, all right, where exactly can he fit in the grand scheme of things? And this is where you're building depth. And you need players like this. You need to be able to continue to build depth. You continue to build depth. That's where everything goes, and you feel really, really good about it. So Arizona is able to get 4 commits, and lo and behold, guess what? They are not done. Arizona is going to continue to get more kids. And again, all these people that are, worried, I kept saying, just wait. And let's be honest here. The 2025 recruiting class isn't where you're going to know what kind of a recruiter Brent Brennan and his staff is. It's going to be the 26 and the 27 class, because, again, that's where that's where the relationships are built. That's where the commitment really starts to come in, and that's where you can find out who's who, what's what, and what are the priorities of both parties involved. I think Arizona's in a pretty good shape all the way around for that. So again, we will continue to keep you updated. But like I said, good stuff all the way around. Also a big shout out to Alonzo Carter for what he's been able to do. Alonzo Carter, I think Alonzo Carter is a coach that you just kind of know he gets it. Now, I think I had a few questions, but there's no doubt about it that he has answered all those with the running back room that he has, and it's going to be fun going forward, especially kind of too is that ace recruiter. So that's where it's at. Like I said, throughout the week, I would imagine we are going to talk a lot more about Arizona football commits because I think there's going to be more that's coming in. More, not less. That is what we like around here. More commits, not less. It's exciting, and I think Arizona is in a very, very good spot for a bunch of different guys. Now, with and a big thing I think you're going to see too is how are you going to fill some of these holes? Because that's the other thing. You know that you look at this Arizona roster, and they could potentially lose a lot of guys coming forward in the next year. You're probably going to lose T-Mac, obviously. Not only are you probably going to lose T-Mac, you're probably going to lose a player like a Jonas Savanea. You're going to lose a Takario Davis. So you've got to have players that are in there that are already being turned out that you're like, okay, now we're going to be good to go. So Arizona's got that one. Excited to see exactly how this plays out for the University of Arizona because coaching staff, like I told you before, this coaching staff gets it. Now, let's talk about another coaching staff that gets it, and that is the Arizona basketball. Now, why don't we talk about Will Riley first? Now, he put out that he's going to announce on the 23rd. I believe this is a 2-horse race. Now, for all the Illinois people out there that keep getting upset about this, Illinois is probably the leader. Cool. Arizona still believes they're in it. So guess what that means? We are going to continue to talk about Arizona and Will Riley. And if he goes to Illinois, guess what? Cool. Arizona gets a lot of 5-star guys. It's going to be okay. You don't need to worry about it. But Will Riley would obviously be an awesome addition. They had a Zoom on Wednesday, and by all accounts, the Zoom went very, very well. Coaching staff was impressed. He asked all the right questions, said all the right things. So, again, we'll find out. This isn't one of those things where Arizona feels they have no chance because keep in mind, there have been a lot of those times in the past where you get off something and you're like, all right, well, we tried, but we have no chance. Arizona is very much in this for Will Riley from their impression, and we will see again. 23rd, a week from Sunday, is going to be the announcement date. We'll see how that plays out. But Arizona has a very, very nice backup option and might even be a primary option we're going to talk about here in just a second. But first, FanDuel, check it out, FanDuel. All right, now we are about to be in the dog days of sports where there is no basketball, there is no football, and that is very, very annoying for me. But you can make it a little bit easier. FanDuel.com/lockedon is here to help, my friends. Check it out and check it out now. Again, there's nothing that is more entertaining than betting on something or watching a game where you have something on the line. With Arizona, or when it comes to athletics, I do not like baseball at all. But guess what I do like? I like when I'm betting on baseball and I got a little skin in the game. So again, check it out. FanDuel.com/lockedon. You know your money's good. That's the other thing that's great about it. And when you know your money's good, when you know that you're going to get a good return and you don't have to worry about things, it is fun. That's always been a fun thing for me. So, and it is for you as well. Check it out, FanDuel.com/lockedon. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk a little bit about Dame Sarr. I am a massive fan of Dame Sarr. Now, here's where I'm at with Euros. And in that I am not a huge fan of getting the Euro that you do not know what their competition was and expecting them to be able to contribute. The guy that I continuously go to when I think about that is somebody like Philly B. I like Philly B a great deal, but the one thing that you could always tell about Philly B is that Philly B probably wasn't going to be a contributor at the U of A. And I think when you take these guys from these different leagues and whatnot, you can kind of tell fairly early on that this dude's probably not it. Philly B was one of those players, unfortunately. But with the U of A, though, another thing that is very, very nice about all of this is that you can also look, and Tommy Lloyd has shown that he can definitely figure out from previous mistakes. And Dame Sarr does not look like the guys that Arizona has recruited in the past. He looks entirely different. As a matter of fact, he looks like an NBA player, and I think that's something that is also that Arizona fans need to look at and be excited by. He would come in, and I think he'd probably be a 2-year player. He looks like an NBA guy. I think he would probably be the 8th or 9th guy, and if you're Arizona, you would take that. He visited this past weekend. We will obviously know here shortly how everything went, but I believe that Arizona is going to get one of those two. I believe they are either going to get Dame Sarr or I believe they're going to get Will Riley. And that would obviously finish out the roster. You could have 2 dudes at that point where you're looking at an 8th or 9th player and you're like, man, that is really, really nice. Arizona would be in a very good spot if they were able to get both of those guys or one of those 2 guys. And I think there's a real chance that they're going to be able to get one of those 2 guys. And then at that point, it is game on if you are the University of Arizona, because, again, your roster is very, very well put together, and you would know that, all right, we're good to go, and there's depth. I think one of the things with Tommy Lloyd is you always kind of wonder a little bit, what kind of depth have they had, because there's been some dudes that have been a little bit of roster filler. He is bringing in some guys like this would be different, and I think that it would definitely help the University of Arizona, and I think that from an Arizona perspective, it would be a very nice thing. So we will find out. We will find out about that. But like I said, pretty good recruiting weekend all the way around for the University of Arizona. Now we're going to talk about Texas, California, and some of the recruiting that is coming into play with there. And what that all means for Arizona going forward, because again, Arizona is in a very nice spot. And I think this coaching staff is showing on both fronts that they can get those kids. And with football and with basketball, that thing is obviously an autopilot. That is exciting because you also, like I said, that Arizona can get pretty good players. And not only can Arizona get pretty good players, that they are going to be good. And so we'll find out about that. But we're going to talk about that a lot because that makes a lot of sense too in Big 12ville to be able to get, players that are from those areas. And you're like, then it's kind of game on at that point. So we will find all of that out. But I would also expect some movement here with Dame Sarr and Cody Riley and Will Riley here coming up shortly. But we will obviously continue to talk about that when the time arises, when it is appropriate. But never a better time to be an Arizona fan. And like I said, do not worry about recruiting. Arizona with football is going to be just fine. Got in a little bit late. They needed to be able to fill up some holes on this roster, and they did just that when it came to the transfer portal. Now you start looking ahead to 2025 a little bit. And with 2025, that's where in 2026, that's where you're going to really find out where this staff is when it comes to when it comes to all that recruiting. But as always, very, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. Never a better time to be a Wildcat fan. Remember that, peeps. Bear down, back the A, and as always, thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day.